Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and of course it's my privilege to be your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today is something of an exception to my normal release of videos because we're having an extra video today, and today is the 30th of March, which means that in Geneva, on the other side of Europe, Watches and Wonders are taking place. So it's an industry expo in which many of the principal Swiss watch manufacturers use that opportunity to release their latest pieces. And I'm going to review the releases from Tudor and from Rolex, probably two of the most, shall we say, followed Swiss watch brands, certainly the ones which I like myself, which I own myself. So I thought I'd give you something of a reactionary video to what's been released. Maybe you've not seen what's been released, so this is an opportunity for you to see that too. But certainly I'll give you my thoughts on those new releases right here, right now, filmed today in my lunch break today from work. So let's get started and let's talk about what's hit the market today. Okay, so let's talk about Tudor to start with. Some interesting releases from them in 2022, and I think, you know, they've released quite a few watches over the last 12 months. They're continuing to progress their Black Bay range, their Pelagos range has expanded, but some interesting new items out today. First of all, and I'll throw pictures from the press packs of all of these watches up on the screen as we go along, we see what Tudor refer to as their Black Bay Pro, which in essence is a 39mm steel bezeled GMT watch. Now this is a really interesting piece, and for me, I start with the most outstanding one, which I think Tudor have released this year for a number of reasons. Firstly, it's 39mm. I know a lot of people were hoping that Tudor would bring out a GMT watch within their Black Bay 58 range. That isn't the case here. They've brought out what is essentially a standalone model, and they refer to it as their Black Bay Pro. Now, that stainless steel bezel, of course, it's going to have people harking to the Rolex Explorer 2 model, which has a similar appearance, and certainly the original Rolex Explorer 2 looked not dissimilar to this. But I think it is an absolutely glorious watch, this new edition from Tudor, and for a number of reasons. Firstly, yes, that all stainless steel look makes it look very utilitarian, very rugged, and it looks very attractive. It's the sort of watch, I have to say, that I would like to put on my wrist, and at that 39mm size, we know that is very much a sweet spot for many men and women who enjoy watches which aren't massive. What do we know about this piece? Well, we know that it's available in stainless steel. It has a stainless steel bracelet, which interestingly has the rapid adjustment on the clasp, which means it has some version of glide lock adjustment, which I think Tudor have been crying out for on many of their day-to-day watches. I think that's a great idea. It's going to make this watch a very comfortable watch and an easy wearer for people to put on. So what else do we know about the piece? Well, it's got the same movement as Tudor's Black Bay GMT model, so a tried and tested movement now that's been around since 2018, so we know somehow they've squeezed that into the smaller case. We know it's going to deliver. Very attractive face with a yellow GMT hand, with that classic snowflake on the GMT hand, bit like the Tudor Black Bay GMT. But I think that's going to be the outstanding watch. It's also available, as well as the stainless steel bracelet, on fabric and on a sailcloth version. Prices, I've looked it up, I've got it up on screen right now. Prices are £3,080 in the stainless steel bracelet, and a little less, £2,840 with the other bracelet options. So that is going to be, I think, the thing which draws the eye from the Tudor issue for 2022. As well as that, Tudor have also taken the opportunity to revamp their existing GMT model, their Black Bay GMT, currently available with a Pepsi version on a stainless steel bracelet. From today, it's now also available in a root beer variant. So I say root beer, obviously that's the nickname we refer to the Rolex two-tone version. But the Tudor Black Bay GMT is now available in steel and gold, and the bezel is now in black and in a reddy brown colour. So very clearly a root beer issue here. And yeah, I think it adds depth to that Black Bay GMT range. It was crying out for something else. Many people thought, as I say, they were going to bring out the GMT perhaps in the Black Bay 58 range and retire the main heritage size of 41mm, but no, they haven't done that. They've expanded the 41mm case, and now it's available in steel and gold, which I think brings an interesting facet to that watch, priced at £4,290. So, you know, compared to the Rolex, an absolute snip. Okay, so what else have Tudor brought us? That's not just it, there are some other pieces. Tudor have also brought us a Black Bay chrono in steel and gold, 41mm piece. It's an expansion of their existing model range in the chrono. If you like that sort of watch, it could be bang up your street, currently priced at £5,590. Just giving you more options. I like the fact that Tudor are definitely heading down the gold route, which is rather interesting. And just to round off with Tudor, before we get into its bigger brother, they've also brought out a couple of variations within the Black Bay range. It seems that they've increased the range to include a 39mm dial, which will be interesting because, as I say, that 39mm size seems to be the sweet spot. Many people, myself included, think that is a perfect sort of middle ground that practically everybody can wear, and it would look proportionate and be comfortable on your wrist. So the Black Bay range expanding, and also some other variations to the Tudor Royal range. But I think that's what we're really interested in, the Tudor range. And for me, as I say, that Black Bay Pro wins hands down here. Very, very interesting addition. Okay, so Tudor have done an excellent job. Well, let's find out what their bigger brother Rolex has put on the table for us, because I think this is what many people are interested in. And generally, Rolex move with the speed of a glacier. Slow, and, you know, evolutionary rather than revolutionary. However, there's been some significant changes this year, which I think are worth, you know, really shining a spotlight on. But first of all, let's talk about a watch which many people thought was due for a total revamp, maybe even a discontinuance. And that is the good old Rolex Air King. Many people complained that the most recent iteration of that watch, it had a very jumbled dial with an awful lot of numbers, lots of the number 5 repeated throughout the dial, and it was asymmetrical in appearance, lots of fonts, different colours. It looked like a dog's dinner. But let's be fair, it has become something of a cult classic in recent years. You can't find one, you know, if you've ever seen one in a window, you'd be very, very fortunate. They sell for above retail price, but Rolex have changed the watch. They've altered the case. They've made the sides of the case straight. They've added crown guards to the case to make it perhaps more rugged looking. And they've also done a job on that dial. They've added a 0 before the standalone 5 to make it more balanced on the eye when you look at that dial. And they've upgraded the movement inside. They've placed the 3230 movement, the workhorse movement. They've retired the 3131. And it brings that watch right up to date with the latest movement, the 70-hour power reserve, and they've given it yet another lease of life. So, you know, I think they've done a great job. I'm glad they didn't retire it. It's quirky. It's not a watch I would personally want to own, but I think it's a lovely piece, and I can understand why people would want it. Now, when I talk about evolution, there's one watch which I think they've really leapt ahead and done something very different, and it's the GMT Master 2 range. They've added a watch to that range which I don't think anybody would have expected. Many people might have thought they would have messed around with the colour scheme because, you know, we see the Pepsi version, we see the Batman version, the root beer version. They've got a, you know, perhaps one of their most colourful sports watches for sure. But now they've introduced a green version. I don't know what name that's going to get. It'll be interesting to find out. But the big thing with this watch is not just the colour that they've added in the stainless steel model. So it's stainless steel, it's the one that everybody can afford. That GMT Master 2 retails at 8,800, so it's the entry level into the GMT range. But the big thing with this watch, it's a left-hand drive. They have placed the crown on the left-hand side of the watch, meaning that it is ideal for right-handed individuals or people who want something just a little different. And also, not just moved the crown, they've also moved the date window. I don't know whether this was something which was required as part of the mechanics of altering that crown to the left-hand side. Perhaps they've just inverted it entirely. And there we have it. So you can now have the date window at the 9 o'clock position instead of the 3, and the crown on the left-hand side of your watch. It's interesting. To my eye, and I own a couple of GMT Master 2s, it looks slightly strange. It does look like the watch is upside down because I'm so used to seeing the crown on the other side and the date window on the other side. It does look like the watch has been inverted. But, you know, if you love the colour green, or perhaps you're right-handed and you want a watch which is more fitting with that, you've now got the option within the Rolex range. In other regard, it's the same as all the other GMT Masters. So it's running the same movement that's been around since 2018, tried and tested workhorse movement. It's available in the Oyster bracelet and in the Jubilee bracelet. So you've got the same options available as the other GMT Master 2s, but with a different colour and with a different crown placement and a different date window placement. So it's really interesting. I think that's quite an interesting addition. Again, it's not something for me. I'm not a big fan of the colour green, and I'm right-handed, so not an issue for me. So yeah, interesting to see what they've done there. Definitely, I don't know what else they could possibly do to that GMT Master 2 range now. I think they've kicked the back end out of it, but yeah, an interesting direction they've taken. Now the next watch is the one which sings out to me the most from the new additions to the Rolex range this year, and that is a slight variation to an existing watch, but that variation is important, and it is the Platinum Day-Date 40. As you know, the Platinum Day-Date comes with the ice blue dial, as all of the Rolex Platinum watches have. The ice blue dial is the indicator that it's platinum, made from 950 grade platinum. But previously, the Day-Date, unlike many of its other precious metal watches in that collection, did not have the option of having a fluted bezel. It came with a smooth bezel only. And that's because platinum is an inherently difficult material to work with. And it was apparently very difficult, if not impossible, to create those fluted facets around the dial, which makes the Rolex Day-Date so obviously iconic. We also see it on the Sky Dweller. We also see the same effect on the Datejust. I'm wearing a Datejust 36mm with the fluted bezel as well. And even on these models, the fluted elements have to be made of white gold. It can't be cut from stainless steel, again, because stainless steel is a very tough material, and it's not currently possible to machine those flutes into the bezel because of the material, the difficulties posed by the material. Now that was the case with platinum. However, Rolex tell us that they have been able, with new technology, to overcome that deficiency they had with being unable to create those fluted bezels, and now they can. So now we see the Day-Date 40 in platinum available with a fluted bezel, and it becomes, for me, the standout watch of this release by Rolex today. I think it is beautiful, it is gorgeous, it is a classically elegant watch. Of course, you know, it's available only to the very smallest percentage of us, because if you look in the Rolex catalogue, it will tell you price on application. But the previous model retailed at something like, I believe, over £50,000 for the model which didn't have diamonds in it, as this model is. So with that new fluted bezel, the new technology, is it going to be 60,000 and beyond? Who knows? But certainly a very expensive watch, but a very beautiful watch, and it's one which it'll be my fantasy watch, you know, my lottery winning watch, and that's an absolute beauty. Now, another watch which Rolex teased us with was the Yachtmaster 42. It was in their teaser video, just about. You could just tell that it was a Yachtmaster, and they've released the Yachtmaster 42 in a yellow gold case. And that Yachtmaster 42 in 18 karat yellow gold on an oyster flex, it just adds some more breadth to the existing Yachtmaster range. Currently available, I believe, in an Everose gold model, now in this 18 karat gold model. Just fleshes out the range. It's a very attractive watch. Personally, for me, I'm not a huge fan of the Yachtmaster. You know, if you have a Submariner, you know, you kind of think to yourself, why do I need a Yachtmaster? But yes, it is the sort of more stylish, water-based watch, if you will, from Rolex. I do like it. Retailing at £22,750 on the Oyster Flex. Again, a watch which I don't think many people will be beating a path to, but yeah, it's nice, you know, if you like that sort of thing. Nice to see Rolex introducing it, and yeah, what more can I say? Simple as that. What else have they brought out? Well, they've made some variations to their Datejust range. They've introduced some interesting dial options, a floral option scattered with diamonds on their Datejust 31 range, and I think maybe throughout the other Datejust models as well. The sort of floral motif with different colorations. I believe there's some gold, there's some olive. It's available in the full range of the Datejust models, I think. You know, two-tone, stainless steel. I believe it comes on a gold watch as well with a presidential bracelet. So quite interesting. But you know, the Datejust range always has many variations as they mess around with it and bring new options to it. One of the reasons why I think the Datejust range is terribly overlooked. People often automatically will jump for those sports watches, those more high profile watches, but the Datejust is the watch which you can probably customize to your taste more than any other Rolex. And it's nice to see that they're continuing to evolve that Datejust range by bringing in new models as they go along. What else have they done? Well, as I say, in the Datejust range, for me, the standout additions that they've made in that range, they have brought some olive dials. I believe they're terming them as mint green dials. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, actually. And of all of the Datejusts which I've seen them bringing out in this range, I do like that mint green. Looks a bit olive to me. It's got a bit of a starburst look to it, but it's a beauty and worth having a look at that one if you're interested in a Datejust. So, as well as bringing in new watches, one of the big things when Rolex alters their range is what have they discontinued? And they have discontinued some pieces. What they haven't discontinued is the Milgauss. It still appears in the catalogue, it is fair to say. So if you were waiting for one of those, don't fear, they're still going to be available. Maybe for next year, they might fiddle around with that one. So try and get it now if you possibly can. What else have they discontinued? Well, in the Oyster Perpetual range, which was one of the huge successes over the last 18 months for Rolex, when they injected a bit of spice, a bit of colour into that range, they have reduced the availability of those colours, in so much as in the 41mm range they have retired the yellow dial, the coral dial, and that oh so desired Tiffany blue dial. So they've taken them out of the range. Now throughout the other ranges, the 36mm range, they've also taken away the yellow, the coral. I believe the Tiffany is still available in the 36mm range. So they've definitely been looking at their catalogue and they've been removing some of the colourways. So in the Oyster Perpetual 41mm range, probably their most desired range at the moment, you can now only get it in green, blue, black and the silvery dial. So very much slimmed down. So if you were hoping for one of those watches, it's not going to come from an authorized dealer, unfortunately for you, and you're going to have to pay a lot more money. So it's interesting to see that Rolex, those watches had only been released, I believe, about 18 months, and now they're gone. They're going to be classics. They're going to be priceless in the near future. That's apparent now that they've been retired. So very, very interesting path that Rolex are going on. We wait to see what they will come up with in future years. I hope you've enjoyed this sort of unusual video for me, just throwing an extra one in this week. If you have enjoyed it, of course, you know, do us a favor, give us the old thumbs up. Subscribe if you wish to do so. I do include a fair amount of watch content on the channel, along with the other gentleman's style stuff. But as I was at home today, recovering from COVID, I thought I would take the opportunity to share with you my thoughts on the latest releases. So get on those websites, have a look at those watches, and drink in their beauty. And until the next time, take care of yourselves, and I will see you again very soon.